Hello and welcome to episode 4.14, the May 14th, 2025 Gaudeamus edition of Notes from the Aisle Seat, the podcast that covers the arts in northern Chautauqua County, sponsored by the 1891 Fredonia Opera House. My name is Tom Laughlin, and I'm your host as we bring you news and information about arts events at the Opera House and around the region, including interviews with artists and creators across the county. Gaudeamus Igitur. There is much to rejoice as we enter the middle of spring. Just about everything is in bloom, from daffodils to maple trees. College commencements will be taking place across the country as a new crop of graduates seeks to make their way into the world. And the Roman Catholic Church has a new pope, an American-born pope, ready to take on the challenges awaiting his new papacy. So rejoice indeed as we await the coming warmth of summer and the long, lazy days it brings. If you really want to start your summer season off rejoicing, I can't think of a better way to do so than taking in the sound of music at the Commencement Eve Pops concert. I spoke with Rockefeller Arts Center retiring director Jefferson Westwood about this joyful musical. I'm joined now by Mr. Jefferson Westwood. He is the retiring director of the Rockefeller Arts Center at the SUNY Fredonia campus, and he's going into his final hurrah with the Commencement Eve Pops concert, The Sound of Music, on Friday, May 16th at 7:30 p.m. Jefferson, welcome.
It's nice to be back with you, Tom.
Always love to have you. Always
Yeah.
love to have you. So I have to ask you before we begin, how does it feel that it's the last one?
Yeah, it is strange. It's a strange feeling. I'm going to rehearsals every night, and I'm just basking in the enjoyment of watching all these young people and the faculty and staff who are leading them. I've been doing this since I was 13 years old, which makes it 63 years of putting on shows.
Wow.
I mean, if I wrote my autobiography, that would probably be what I would have to entitle it, because
Well, now you got to stop right there, Jefferson, because I want to bring you back on the podcast later on in the month, and we'll talk about your
oh
career.
yeah. Yeah, well,
Okay?
we could use this then.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
But
save this for later.
save all the good stories for later, okay? But let's talk about the Sound of Music. Let's talk about the Pops concert, and we'll go from
Yeah.
there. First of all, tell me why you picked the Sound of Music. Was there some particular reason you wanted to go out with the Sound of Music?
Well, you and I did our first staged version of a concert version of a musical. We did South Pacific by Rodgers and Hammerstein. I think that was probably 12 years ago or something like that. And I've done them every 2 or 3 years since. I think part of the reason I felt it had been long enough since the Department of Theater and Dance had done it, because they did a great performance about 14 years ago. Jessica Hillman McCord directed it. Some of my collaborators, which are Glenn Cortese from the Western New York Chamber Orchestra, Janie Sharon, our choreographer, Brent Weber, my director, they wanted to do West Side Story.
Mm.
And I said, it's a great musical. It's classic. It's one of those shows that ever since it's closed on Broadway, somebody's been doing it somewhere around the world. I mean, it's never gone out of style. But Tom, West Side Story, everybody dies at the end.
Yes, that's true.
It's like, it's a tragedy. I just didn't want a tragedy to be my swan song. And Sound of Music also it just has such wonderful music in it. So many songs have become part of the, regular culture of our society. But it also has, in my opinion, a very timely message, if I can say that. the authoritarianism is on the rise all over the world, including, I'm sorry to say, in North America, and which country I'm talking about.
Hmm.
And I just it's there's a reason it's called the world's most beloved musical.
Yeah.
And so that's basically how we came to it. I got to find something for next year because I'm committed to working with the orchestra again. Um, and that's in development. But yeah, I'm very glad I picked it because it is just such a great vehicle.
Yeah, it is a wonderful piece. I've always loved it myself. I think you get to the point a little bit though, because you see the way musicals develop and musical theater has developed over the years. It sort of becomes one of those sort of hidden, you know, hidden pleasures that you have because the sound of music is not, you know, current among young people in the society, but yet at the same
Mhm.
time, boy, I think it's timeless. I think it's a timeless story, and I think your point about, the fact that it has that little subplot where Captain von Trapp is finding a way to resist the Nazi regime and escape um, Austria is
Uh-huh.
has a lot to say to today's society. It's not something that we should or ignore in terms of the musical. What talk a little bit about. I know you love to talk about the student talent, and I love to listen about the student talent. So, who you got playing which roles?
Yeah. Well, Michael Hamill, who played the boyfriend in last semester's production of Legally Blonde, he is our Captain Von Trapp. And then Lauren Shalansky is our Maria. And she's got a beautiful voice and, captures the role quite nicely. She's a junior. Michael's graduating. Um, we just have some other terrific students as well. I think the young couple, and their name is on the tip of my tongue, who's doing our Rolf and Liesel, the eldest daughter. He's the telegram delivery boy.
Hmm.
Uh, they've really got it. Oh, and I've got to say that uh, Mia Rondeau, I'm getting her name slightly wrong. Um, but Mia is a graduate student in opera, and she is doing the Mother Abbess, the one who closes Act One with "Climb Every Mountain,"
Yes.
and she is the kind of singer who will give you goosebumps.
Hmm.
And um, that's the big Act One closing number, and then that song also closes the show. She is from France, and next year she has a 9-month contract with the Detroit Opera Company, and she is covering some of the leading roles,
Oh,
meaning
nice.
she's the understudy basically, and
Yeah.
doing other stuff with them. But she's going to be a big star someday. There's no question in my mind.
Well, it's nice that you get that kind of voice because there's no question that Mother Abbess, you know, needs that. And it's really
Right.
interesting how she goes from singing favorite things to climb every mountain because favorite
Hmm.
things is such a light little ditty,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden this big booming voice for climb every mountain. It's
Yeah.
an incredible role that runs the scale. How uh I guess the better way to put this is your children, the Von Trapp
Hmm.
children.
Hmm.
Talk a little bit about them.
Sure. Well, we have 7 of them as called for in the scripts. We've cast more from the student body than most producers probably would because we had, we part of at least Janie Sharon's philosophy is everybody that tries out and wants to be in the show, let's get them in the show if we can.
Hmm.
So if the and we have a couple of women playing boys parts to make it all come out even. And the two that are local is Casey Mancuso is playing the second youngest, and then uh, Emmy Sharon is playing the littlest. She's 5 years old, as the character is, and and they're very cute. Let's just say that.
Uh-huh.
Um, but the first number that they're all in together where they sing is Do Re Mi, Do a deer, female deer, and it's just very cute. And Janie Sharon, her mom, has done the choreography for us. She's very inventive. And so people will see some stuff dance-wise in this show that they will not have seen in any other staged production. I can guarantee that.
Interesting
I, I,
twist.
yeah. Let me just say it has to do with the Lonely Goat Herd, which was done as a marionette show in the Julie Andrews 1965 movie.
Yes.
But we're doing a little bit of a different take on that. So people will have to come see the show to see what I'm talking about.
Okay, well, that's what you want. You want to hook Jefferson.
Absolutely.
That's a good and the orchestration. I take it that Western New York Chamber Orchestra is playing with Glenn Cortese.
Oh, absolutely. And this is a Robert Russell Bennett orchestration. He did most of the Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff. Gifted orchestrator, but normally it is done, and what you rent from the company that controls the rights is music for 28 pit musicians, two first violins, two second violins, two violas, I think two cellos, one cello, one bass. We're like tripling the size of the string section. We have the space, we have the musicians. It'll be even so the sound of this is going to be even more lush and exciting than normal because we'll have six, six, four, three, and three, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Big orchestra.
That is a big orchestra. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Really nice. Is there something about the sound of music that you particularly are attracted to or interested in that you think might be um, a piece of information that the average listener maybe wouldn't know? Because we all know the sound of music. It's very hard to not talk about it and realize that everybody knows the story and the music, and it's just so well known. But is there a little thing that you like inside of it that says, this is something that people probably don't pay a lot of attention to, but it's a very interesting thing in the piece?
Yeah, well, they weren't exactly run out of town by the Nazis. they they the uh, people who wrote the book, that's show business for the non-singing parts, the non-lyrics.
Hmm.
Howard Lindsay and Russell Crouse,
Hmm.
Crouse, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. They based this all on Maria Augusta Trapp's memoirs called The Trapp Family Singers, suggested by them. They took great liberties. So when the Von Trapps decided they needed to leave Austria, they just went down to the center of town and hopped on a train. They didn't escape over the mountains in the middle of the night with the Nazis at their heels. They just decided to pick up and leave. And, the number of children is different. And, but Maria did turn them into a singing group. That part is true. And the music is just so nicely integrated into the show. Like every time I've seen this, I've seen one stage production, 50 years ago, and I've seen the movie I don't know how many times. Oh, and I met Julie Andrews once. Oh, and
Oh,
I got to shake her hand, have a little conversation. She was a keynote speaker at a conference that I was attending. And only time I've seen anybody deliver a keynote speech live with teleprompters.
mm,
She had it all written out. She's very careful, very meticulous, didn't leave anything to chance. Anyway, that was an experience, you know, by itself. But yeah, lots of liberties sort of taken with the. She went back to visit the Von Trapp's family home and had very dark, terrible sort of Darth Vader feelings being there because after they left and the Nazis took it over, somebody very high in the German command took the house over as their residence,
mm.
built a wall around it with slave labor, big, high stone walls all the way around, and then executed all the people that had built. They got a firing squad and killed
Oh,
everybody. And it just, she sort of had to get out of there as quick as she could. Yeah,
wow.
that's something most of your listeners probably don't know.
That I'd never heard that story before, but that is an interesting twist because that little dark side of it. There's always part of me that kind of wanted a little bit of a darker side to The Sound of Music. It's kind of there underneath. It
Mhm,
doesn't quite rise to the top of being
mhm.
that threatening, but you can pick it up if you're listening really hard. All right. Well, Jefferson, thanks a lot for spending a little time with me and talking about the Sound of Music and the Pops concert, your last
Yep,
Pops
yep.
concert. I imagine that curtain speech that you usually give is going to be interesting.
Um, this one I think I'm going to really have to practice out loud before. I used to do that all the time. I'd write it out, practice it. When I was introducing travelogues, I'd go over the thing, 10 times out loud.
Hmm.
I'm just a little bit afraid of choking up, to tell you the truth, because I've been very attached to my job here. I've been just more than fortunate, more than privileged to, have this position for the last 43 years. I feel I have because by doing that, by being expected to tell a joke, and I've got a doozy this time. I can't give it away.
Can't
Not
give
going
it
to
away.
preview it here,
No, no.
but it's the kind of, let's put it this way, it's the kind of joke that if you weren't about to retire, you might have to retire after having told it.
Well, that's the way to go out, Jefferson, if you
It
ask me.
it 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 has a senior campus administrator, not a particular person, but an office that is occupied by people on college campuses who is the punchline to the joke. So people will have to come see it to find that out. And I think we're airing here on a few days before the performance.
Yes, uh-huh.
The
Wednesday before the performance, yeah.
Yeah, there are tickets left. I can tell that even though we're recording this in advance because of the trajectory line of sales.
Uh-huh.
But it's going to be a very full house, and I'm really hoping for that. Really hoping for that.
Yeah, that'll be great. Well, I'm going to look forward to getting you back on the podcast as soon as I can to reminisce with you over your
Terrific.
43 years. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to enjoy that, and I hope you will too. Okay, so we'll talk to you then.
Thank you, Tom. Bye bye.
Thank you, Jefferson. Bye-bye. The Commencement Eve Pops concert, featuring a concert version of Rodgers and Hammerstein's The Sound of Music, will be performed on Friday, May 16th, beginning at 7:30 p.m. in the King Concert Hall at Rockefeller Arts Center on the campus of SUNY Fredonia. Call the campus box office for tickets Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 716-673-3501 for more information. Along with everything else in bloom, you will see one more sure sign of spring in the region: the blooming of yard signs proclaiming the Spring Arts Trail event sponsored by the North Shore Arts Alliance. The Alliance's president, Marcia Merrins, joined me to talk about the Spring Arts Trail and list many of this year's artists whose studios will be open over the Memorial Day weekend. I'm joined now by a woman who needs very, very little introduction in terms of talking about the arts in northern Chautauqua County. She is Marcia Merrins. She is the president of the North Shore Arts Alliance, and she is one of the great benefactors in the area for the arts. And it's always a pleasure and an honor to have Marcia on the podcast. Marcia, welcome.
Thank you. It's always joyful to be here. It's very easy to talk to you and all your listeners out there. Lots of fun.
So, I was remarking, of course, before we went on and having a little discussion before I started recording that it seemed like all of a sudden I turned around and the calendar was at May and I said, "Oh, the Arts Trail is coming up. I need to talk with Marcia about the Arts Trail." And it seems early, but it's really not, is it? I mean, it
Well,
just
it's a week early. I mean, kind of. It's Memorial Weekend is early, but somehow May 24th doesn't sound like quite Memorial Weekends. But it is May 24th and 25th, and it runs from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. It is possible to do it in a day, but it would be a pretty hardy day. But hopefully, whatever day you do it, whether it's Saturday, Sunday, will have time to stop and enjoy some of the other things that County has to offer, including our wonderful restaurants and wineries and vistas, and just chat with the wonderful people that live here. So we have established different locations where groups of artists have gathered, and we call them all hubs, but that is truly a hub.
Mhm.
And we have some wonderful places to stop. So we have 14 hub locations, and then we have 31 artists. So kind of divvied up. At my hub and studio, we have Susan McKay, June Burns, who does wooden puzzles, which are, designed and crafted and just absolutely delightful. And Susan McKay, who is kind of a landmark in this area as a painter. And
Indeed.
Ronnie Lafferty, who's a watercolorist, and she also does more natural painting, flowers and buildings and scenes, whereas Susan McKay is more of a portrait artist. So,
Right.
So at any rate, there are lots of artists and lots of places to go. We have some interesting stops. I'm looking at my map here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you, well, anyhow, which is available, different locations. But some of the new ones are Edgewater Art House, which is in Jamestown on West 8th Street. And there are three artists there. Susan Simmons does oil paintings, and Sandra Maggio, who does photography, I think straight from a phone, mostly.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And Susan Gutierrez, who does paintings, but more Jamestown area, very interesting views of streets and overpasses and stuff like that. So, so those two are new. There is the Sheep Barn, which is in Mayville. Two artists will be there, two photographers. John Gerber and Nancy Ware, and I think you will enjoy that stop. It's really quite new and quite interesting. The location itself is fabulous. So those are two new ones. We'll be back again at 21 Bricks, which is a nice place to stop for a little sip of wine, a little lunch. We have Pat Stokes, who's a photographer there, and Sarah Brown Millspaw, who does like illustrations. She's fabulous. She has a children's book that's out as well that I'm sure you'll be able to purchase. Not you, but somebody you know, Tom. And her husband, who makes furniture, and Carrie Sheffield and Siri Beeson, who you met last year, and she makes these wonderful purses that are so functional and useful for travel, for just strutting around town with upholstery fabric. They're just lovely. You want to say something, Tom?
Continue with the rundown. This is great, Marcia. No problem. I want people to know
Makes
who's
it
out
easy
there.
for you, huh?
Yes, it does.
So Tom Vanier has with him at his studio. So that's really great. He does oil paintings, as you know, and Tom Janik, who is a photographer. He was a chemistry professor, I think, but
Yes.
in retirement, he picked up photography. So Tom Vanier is more of a plein air painter, which means that he paints outside what he sees and, drops it onto a canvas, capturing the light and the movement and the feeling of the viewer when they look at a vista of some kind. So he is just, fascinating. His work is just fascinating to look at. His use of color, I think, is magical all the way around. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Who else is there as we go through here? Oh, Wally Latimer. Oh, my God. Wally Latimer. I think Wally and I just got a cell phone. I mean, that's the kind of guy he is. But Wally has had a man cave where he has escaped the routine of life, and he just creates these wonderful wooden baskets and containers, and he's just kind of like a shake style artist, and he uses local wood. And he's just a real interesting guy. So if you want to get something crafted by an institution in Fredonia with local materials, Wally's your guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's really kind of fun. I talked about Nitty Gritty Works and Brick's Winery, which you will enjoy. Portage Hill Gallery has Audrey Dowling. She owns the gallery, and with her will be Tim Sievertson, and Tim works in monochromatic art. I don't know if it's necessarily painting or, but he's a very, very interesting work, very unique in what he does. And a new artist, Miriam Mayshark, who is a painter. She says she paints what she observes and what she imagines. I think that's kind of everything that we are.
It gets that covers. I think I read in her bio that she loves to paint things from lucid dreams that she has. She's really amazing.
Yeah, it's really just fascinating where people get their inspiration. There's David Gregor. He is new on the trail, as was Miriam, and he specializes in black and white photography, and he does a lot of street photography, which I think is kind of a subgenre of photography.
Yes.
I don't know much about photography, but it's really kind of his work is very interesting to look at, and we're so happy he's on the trail as well. Let's see, who else do we have? Reno Pottery, and they are certainly institutions. They make wonderful functional pottery, but Jim Reno has this wonderful way of cartooning, whether it's a dragonfly or a dinosaur. He cartoons it onto the functional pottery, and it's just beautiful. Really, people, very, very, very collectible. Cynthia Norton does wonderful clothing that she designs that's very wearable, very unique. And, she also is somebody that has followers who collect her style. It's really quite wonderful. We have an amazing array of artists in this community.
I was just going to comment on that too, if I can, because
as I'm going through the list, I'm kind of focusing on it, and it amazes me how many talented people we have here.
Do you think there's something about the region that accounts for that we have so many talented visual artists in this region?
I can speak for myself. I think the pace is slower. You have time to sit and wonder. And when if you're in a rush all the time, I think your creative spirit gets squished.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And somehow when you're looking at a softer landscape around you, not just physical, but the whole feeling. Like I come from a city,
mm-hmm.
and I always was tense, I think. When I commuted, when I was sitting next to somebody I didn't know butt to butt, and don't know this person, you have this kind of tenseness in you, and it kind of shuts out the ability to create. So I think for me, you just need I need a slower pace. And I think maybe that's why people are more productive in the art arena in this environment. That's
Yeah.
just Marcia Merrins' look on life from my viewpoint, right?
Well, you're probably not unique, I would bet. If I asked other artists, I might get the same answer. Marcia, talk quickly a little bit about your website because I know that all the artist bios are there, the interactive map is there. Just touch briefly on that for us.
Okay, well, the website, if you go to our website, which is nsaa-chautauqua.org, there is a banner across the top. If you hit Art Trail, it will take you to an interactive map where you can zoom in, zoom out, and plan your visit. Where you're going to go first, where you're going to go second,
Hmm.
where you're going to stop for lunch, maybe.
Hmm.
And all of the artists, if you click on one of the numbers of the hubs, each hub is numbered. If you click on that, it will expand and you will get to know the artists that are there. And if you click on the artist, it'll take you to their website if they have one. And so you get to know all about those artists. And then if you go to our artists, it will list all the artists that belong to North Shore Arts Alliance, but the ones with the little red asterisks are on the art trail. So that will give you their bios. We also have a passport program where you can, whatever site you go to first, whatever hub you go to first, you will get a passport, and that hub will have a unique stamp to say that you were there. And then at the end of the art trail season, because remember we have a Labor Day weekend as well,
Correct.
you can submit it to the last place you go and enter basically kind of a sweepstakes. And if you fill up the whole card, you have the potential to win a significant gift by gift certificate to be redeemed at any of the artists that are on the art trail. And then different levels of stamps enter different pots of prizes, so to speak.
Yeah.
The reason we started that is because there are some locations, for example, Janet Mandel's studio, which is in Kennedy, and it's a little further off the beaten track and not kind of passing anything. And she's a wonderful wildlife painter. But to get people to go there, the passport is the bait.
Right.
So there aren't many studios around. And I encourage artists, patrons of the arts to go to those studios because they're really a little more interesting in terms of talking to the artists and seeing how they work. LMNOP Gallery is Peter Hamilton. He's also a woodworking artist. And he's in Sherman, so he's a little out of the way to get a stamp, but you can also see where he works. Bemis Point Market is new, and that's in Bemis. And Melissa Myers, who's the co-chair of the Art Trail, and also my vice president for North Shore Arts Alliance, and she is at Bemis Point Market, and I have never been there, and I guess I won't be there when she's there either.
I think you got your own studio to worry about, Marcia.
Yeah. And Bemis Point Library. And so I think we've hit all of them, but I think those are all of the 14 hub locations. So if you want to plan your visit, again, go to our website, nsaa-chautauqua.org, and this resource will help you plan your route and ensure you don't miss any of the artists. And remember to carry your passport with you and save it. If you don't finish them, save it for Labor Day weekend to finish getting the ones you don't catch on Memorial Weekend.
Well, if there's a sure sign of spring in this region, it's always the art trail, and it's always a good opportunity to get to talk to you, Marcia. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate it, and best of luck with this season's art trails.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
You bet. Bye-bye. The North Shore Arts Alliance Art Trail will take place over Memorial Day weekend, May 24th and 25th, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. Please check out their website at nsachautauqua.org for maps and more information. A link is included in the show notes for your convenience. Here is the arts calendar from May 14th through May 28th. Two events are coming up at the 1891 Fredonia Opera House. The first is the Live at the Met presentation of Richard Strauss's opera Salome on Saturday, May 17th, beginning at 1 p.m. Tickets are $20 for adults, $18 for members, and $10 for students. That same evening, the movie The Ballad of Wallace Island will be screened beginning at 7:30 p.m., with a second screening on Tuesday, May 20th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are $7 for adults, $6.50 for members and seniors, and $5 for students. Cinema Series tickets are available at the door only on the day of the screening. For more information on either of these events, listen to the April 30th Triple Play edition of this podcast. The Songwriters Circle Series at the Lakeshore Center for the Arts will hold its next concert on Thursday, May 15th, beginning at 7:30 p.m. Featured performers include Sonny Mayo, Paul Weisenberger, Justin Williams, and Doug Wilcox. Tickets are $10 and can be purchased online at lakeshorecenterforthearts.org. And finally, Main Street Studios is now taking reservations for their 2025 Summer Playground Series. The playground runs from July 14th through August 23rd and includes 5 different productions for children of all ages. You can register by filling out and sending in the registration form located on their website. And remember, if you have an arts event you'd like mentioned on the arts calendar, please contact us at the Opera House at 716-679-1891 or email us at operahouse@fredopera.org. Please give us at least a month's notice in advance of your event to ensure a timely listing. Aspire of Western New York is an organization whose mission is driven by the core belief that children and adults with developmental disabilities have the right to realize their full potential and live as independently as possible. To that end, they have instituted several programs in the arts, including the iXpress art program. The artwork of these artists is worthy of rejoicing and is now on display at the Darwin Barker Library until June 30th. I spoke with one of the arts facilitators, Jeffrey Dietz, who assisted in coordinating the Artful Expressions exhibit. I'm being joined now by Mr. Jeffrey Dietz. Jeffrey is an arts facilitator for Aspire of Western New York, and he is the person who has coordinated the iXpress exhibit at the Barker Library in downtown Fredonia. He's been responsible for bringing all the art in and working with the various artists involved. So, Jeffrey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Tom. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, let's talk a little bit about, just to get a background, your own background. You are an arts facilitator, and that's your job. So it's your job to help the people at Aspire New York create the art. But what about your own background? How did you get involved in art, and what is it about art that really draws you?
Well, it's interesting, Tom. Fredonia, we're in Chautauqua County. Growing up as a young person, my grandparents had a cottage on Chautauqua Lake, and I just loved going down there every summer to the cottage, and I loved just the quiet and going out in my little boat and seeing the birds and the different wildlife, and I would be so in awe of all the different species we saw, and I'd go back in my little sketch pad and start drawing, and I think that was really my first love of art. Even like Walt Disney cartoons, the nature and stuff. So I just always loved art, went to school with the intention to work as a teacher in arts and with people with special needs.
Great. That's wonderful. And and you've achieved that actually, I think. So, there you go. Congratulations to you. Now,
Thank you.
so we can get a little background. Can you tell us a little bit about Aspire of Western New York as an organization, what it does?
Sure, Tom. Well, Aspire Western New York is a nonprofit agency. They support children and adults of varied intellectual and physical disabilities, and they provide services of all types through all different stages of life.
And how long has it been around? It's actually been an organization that's been around Western New York for some time now, hasn't it?
Yes, I believe over 70 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it does a lot of good work all across the Western New York area. I know I've seen buildings and some of the campuses that they have, in Buffalo and the surrounding areas. And there's actually a local one right in Fredonia, isn't there?
Absolutely, yes. We're right on Church Street,
Yeah.
right next to the Fredonia Opera House.
Yeah, there you go. See, I wanted to get the Opera House in there, really.
Yes.
So let's talk then now about this iXpress program. This is something that the residents and the clients get involved in as a means of education and expression. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely, Tom. So that's what we focus on. The artistic expression, many different forms. You do painting, sculpting, poetry. A lot of them love to sing. There's actually a band of individuals of all different abilities called Universal Mind, and they play different events, and they're just wonderful.
Great. And do you have these kinds of programs all across the Western New York area, or is it localized in any one particular place?
Well, Buffalo, Erie County, and Chautauqua County.
So you have just put up curated an exhibit at the Barker Library. I went down to see it and take a look at it and see what it was like, and it's really rather nice. There's art all along the outside of the perimeter of the walls in the library now. And so, what's the goal of that exhibition?
Well, it's a celebration of our artists, Western New York iXpress artists. With some guidance from their art facilitators. It's primarily artists from the Mall Boulevard Aspire location and our Dunkirk Fredonia location. And I have some work in there, but also the art facilitator from Lakewood, who is just an absolutely wonderful art facilitator. The reason I'm with Aspire West New York, Terry Lair, and just wonderful art from her. And it shows, the transformative power of art, their unique perspectives, and I believe that art is more universal when it's personal. And, you really get to see this wonderful art and learn a little bit about these extraordinary artists.
And I have to say that I agree with you in terms of the extraordinariness of the art. I saw, I did. I hope I can get a chance to talk to you about a little bit about a couple of the pieces that I saw. There was one that really caught my eye, and that was one that would look like a collage of the city of Buffalo with a couple of very landmark Buffalo kinds of architecture in it, and yet at the same time there was a hawk flying out from one side, and a quarter moon and nature and all of that kind of stuff. I thought that piece was very, very striking.
Oh, that's wonderful, Tom. That's one of my favorites too. I think that's called Nighthawk Over the City. And that's an artist I work with he's just a wonderful artist and just a wonderful person. And he has a great love of puzzles. So that's one thing we did was we went through all different magazines and found interesting landmarks of Buffalo and just kind of, with support, puzzle pieced them together and made just a very striking collage.
Yeah, it really was fascinating. His other one, I think, is called Mythical Bird. It sits right next to it, and it's another piece. I mean, the just the color choices and the layering of the collage material is really fantastic.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, one thing our artists love to do is weaving. So that's actually a pastel that the artist uh, made, very abstract. We cut it into different strips, and he weaved the background together. And over top, we put together uh, a collage about it. It actually has a deeper meaning about ecology and the environment, and protection of bird species.
Yeah. And there was another one that I saw. I was taken with. It almost looks like a piece of if I had to think when I first saw it, I said, is that cubism or what is that? But it was a little piece called On the Corner, and the colors of it against the black backdrop, there's all kinds of colors. And I noticed that the artist mentioned that she herself has a funky attitude towards her work, and I really like that piece as well.
Oh yeah, that's a gorgeous piece. And what's interesting, Tom, is it's not all art that I worked on with the artists. Some of the artists is from previous art facilitators that came before me. There was a wonderful art facilitator, a local artist in Fredonia, Sarah Mahalik, who actually helped me make the connection with the Barker Library, and she worked with many artists as well on some of those pieces.
Yeah, I know Sarah well.
Oh,
She's a good friend. I like Sarah a lot.
yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she's terrific. Um, and there's also a couple of other things too that caught my eye. One last little section I'll mention. That seemed to be a sports section. There was a couple of pieces. One had a nice piece with the Buffalo Mafia, and I think another piece was the heart of Damar Hamlin, showing a picture of him. There was also a piece about Wonder Boy from the movie The Natural, which was shot in Buffalo in the old rock pile there. And these are wonderful pieces as well.
Oh, absolutely. I guess one thing that especially binds people together in this area is the love of the Buffalo Bills. So, that's one, it's the artists are just huge Bills fans, and the artist who did a lot of those just is a huge fan of the Bills. Loves going to the games. Loves talking about the games. Monday morning, and I really enjoy working with him.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
really fascinating stuff. So where can we see the exhibition? How long is it up? I know it's at the Barker Library, but how long is it up? How long is it going to stay there?
well, it'll actually run through June 30th during normal operating library hours. So there's plenty of time to go down and check it out.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's wonderful. And what about special arts events beyond the Artful Connections? Anything else that's coming up you can tell us about?
Well, that's great, Tom. Yes, we actually have a wonderful event July 24th at the Chautauqua Harbor Hotel in Celeron. And that's called Art on the Lake. And that's a completely free event. People can come in and view the selected art that was selected by a jury this year to be framed. And that art will also be featured in our large fundraiser at the end of September. It's called Art and Wine. So people can go to that event, view the art, purchase it if they'd like. They have light hors d'oeuvres, and many of the artists will also be there to get to interact and meet some of these great artists.
That's wonderful. That's really great to hear. I'll look forward to that event. And I do want to point that out. I was actually surprised when I went to see the exhibit that these pieces of art are for sale. So if you're looking for a piece of art or a couple of pieces of art for your walls in your home, some of these would make spectacular additions.
Absolutely, yeah. There's some really gorgeous pieces.
Yeah, yeah. It's nice to see that that they are for sale, and I'm sure that the sale of those will go to help the causes that Aspire of Western New York has. Jeffrey,
Absolutely.
thank you, Jeffrey, so much for your time. I appreciate it. It's a wonderful exhibition, a wonderful thing that you and all the other arts facilitators are doing with Aspire of Western New York, and I wish you continued best of luck with everything that you're doing for your population. It's a wonderful thing.
Oh, thank you, Tom. I absolutely love uh, the job and working with these people. It brings just such a joy, and they're just some of the most wonderful people I've ever met, and I just want other people to appreciate them and their hard work, dedication to their craft, and enjoy the exhibit.
That's great. Listen, keep me up. Keep me informed, because if you do anything else and you bring it locally, I sure want to know about it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey. Wonderful to meet you. We'll talk to you later.
Great. Thank you.
Artful Expressions will be on exhibit until June 30th during regular Barker Library hours. Admission is free, and please note that much of the artwork is for sale. Your purchase of one of the artworks will go to a deserving cause. Amidst all this rejoicing, there is one sad item to report. There's no winner for last episode's giveaway, as no one took the time to enter. So no one wins the $25 gift card from Domus Fair, along with 2 Arts in the Afternoon series tickets. If you're listening to this podcast, I want to take a moment to encourage you to enter the giveaway. It doesn't take that much effort, and the question is never all that hard to answer. Local businesses have been kind enough to step up and offer gift cards, and we thank them for their generosity. You have a chance to take advantage of their offer by answering one simple question and sending your answer to operahouse@fredopera.org. So why not take a few seconds and enter your name into the drawing? This episode's giveaway is a $25 gift card from the newly renovated White Inn, as well as 2 tickets for the upcoming Opera House presentation and the Tony Goes To, a celebration of songs from Broadway Tony winners. The question this episode is, what local organization is the sponsor of the Memorial and Labor Day Art Trail? See how easy? To enter the giveaway, send an email with the correct answer and with the subject title Giveaway, plus your preferred contact information to operahouse@fredopera.org, and you'll be eligible to win. The deadline for all entries is 12 noon on Friday, May 23rd, to be eligible to win. Also, a reminder to consider becoming a member of the 1891 Fredonia Opera House. Without the generous support of our members and donors, we would not be able to present the events and concerts that we do. Your membership is critical to making it possible to bring the arts to the Northern Chautauqua region, and we are grateful for every member. Membership has its benefits, so consider joining today by clicking the link at the bottom of the show notes and choosing your level of membership. And thank you in advance. And that's it for this Gaudeamus edition of Notes from the Aisle Seat. My thanks to Jefferson Westwood, Marcia Merrins, and Jeffrey Dietz for being my guests on this episode. Notes from the Aisle Seat is a production of the 1891 Fredonia Opera House in Fredonia, New York. For more information on any of the Opera House's events, call the box office at 716-679-1891, visit the website at www.fredopera.org, or email at operahouse@fredopera.org. Notes from the Aisle Seat is available wherever you get your podcasts and also on the Opera House YouTube channel. If you like this podcast, please consider following us by clicking the follow button on our home website at aisleseat.podbean.com and spreading the word through your social media feeds. If you have an arts event you'd like featured on the podcast, why don't you drop us a line at operahouse@fredopera.org and we'll see about featuring your event. Please try to give us a month's notice in advance if possible to facilitate timely scheduling. If you have any suggestions, comments, or criticisms of the podcast, just drop us a line at operahouse@fredopera.org. We'll be glad to receive your feedback. Our next episode will be available on Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. I'm Tom Laughlin, and until then, be safe out there and be kind to one another.